Recently, the newest installment of Hello Neighbor has been released to the public, and I actually had no idea it was also downloadable on Steam. I found this out through scrolling on Twitter one day, seeing another content creator making a stingy requote about how the game already has mixed reviews and that they're glad they never played it. It made me curious to check out the Steam page, which, as suspected, some of the repeating negative reviews were about the lack of index compatibility. And honestly, it's something that made me pause because I can see both the positives and negatives of validating these kinds of reviews. Is giving a game a negative review because it isn't compatible to your headset a viable review? And connected to that, why do these companies focus so heavily on the portable VRs versus the ones that are built to be more tankier? Let's talk about it today. Hello there everyone, my name is Nuoance, and today I'm talking about a more sensitive topic regarding VR compatibility within the community. While this is Hello Neighbor's first VR experience, TinyBuild worked with a rising developer star, Steel Wool, which has created one of the most solid FNAF games and arguably one of the most jaggiest. To me, it was clear that Steel Wool knew what they were doing when they built games in a virtual space, as -1 minigame each level was crafted to be a terrifying experience, and the Halloween update is one of the best VR experiences I've had the pleasure of watching. Help Wanted was a game I'd consistently recommend to friends to play when they'd come over, since VR was still somewhat niche at the time. All that aside, I bring up Steel Wool for a very big reason. When FNAF Help Wanted was released, it showed up as PC VR first, with Quest on its tail and finally a desktop-friendly mode. Help Wanted, at least in my personal opinion, did fantastically and boosted the popularity of the already popular series, some creators, and the company itself. When Security Breach was announced to be made by the same developers, I had high hopes and, I haven't even bought the game, let's just leave it at that. I love the world design, the characters, and the story had such an amazing direction, but it fell flat. Steel Wool has gotten its hands on a few pretty popular horror names under its belt now, and it's being seen as a mixing bag of entertainment. After the massive success of FNAF Help Wanted, though, it did surprise me to see that Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue was going to be released on Quest first. I know I've mentioned it before, and those who are active in my server know about it somewhat, but my job requires me to play games, either to make content for a client to post on their socials, our socials, other creators' socials, or just to learn about the game to work with them. I've played a ton of games before they went live to the public, and one thing that's been a consistent frustration is the amount that are Quest exclusive. I have it clearly stated with my manager that if a game is on Steam, and therefore indexed, that it will always be my preferred method of recording because quality, time, and comfort are a priority to me. While I do love the Quest for its accessibility, it is definitely not the most comforting or versatile of headsets, and so my commentary gets nerfed because I'm usually just getting sick much quicker. Most of my friends are PAC VR with me, and it gets a bit depressing when I can't recommend a game I've played for work strictly because it's Quest only. And from a creator standpoint, the Quest sucks for creating content on it because it's just really rigid to work with. However, regardless of my feelings, Search and Rescue must have been prioritized to be on Quest because that's realistically the most profitable option. When you have 100 people who own VR and 70 of them own one specific headset, it makes sense to focus on making the game fit those parameters. But it can sting a bit when you're part of the 30, especially because your setup costs a lot more and probably makes you feel like an active member of the VR community. Not saying that the Quest users are not, but some headsets and add-ons take a lot more money and time to set up for a more immersive experience than others. I had a video a few months ago talking about how so many VRChat users use their VR for VRChat alone, with the occasional once-off game, and how one of the big reasons is because of variety, price gouging, the feeling of self and community. And while that is all true, I don't think it doesn't help that so many companies see Quest as the more default option to release their games. One of my favorite Quest experiences is known as Dyschronia. I haven't beaten it yet because I'm waiting for the third and final installment before I play through the whole game, but I can't even enjoy streaming it with my community because Quest is that bad from a creator standpoint. And since, once again, the majority of my VR friends don't use Quest, it's something that they may never get to enjoy unless I post a playthrough. Actually, when I looked it up, funnily enough, they have the game available on Switch and PSVR, but it's still not PC VR compatible. I don't think it's an issue with disliking Steam because both of the developers have games available for purchase on there, and one of them has posted VR titles in the past that weren't Quest only. Once again, bringing back to Steel Wool, I'm seeing a small pattern with story-based games moving from PC PC to Quest priority. Back into the whole meat of this video, there are some heavy backlash from people who own the Index and are unable to enjoy the game that they bought. Sure, they can get a refund, and they honestly probably did, but even so, the time wasted they feel is enough of a reason for leaving the negative review. For some, just looking to see how the game is being received is enough for them to want to purchase or not, or, talk about it, share memes, post on Twitter, and they may not look into the details of why the game's reviewing is mixed. I mean, for me, I looked at the negative reviews on Steam, and about half of them are just complaining that the game is not Index supported, even though they did have it mentioned that the Index is not a compatible headset as of yet. And I get it, because I am too one of those people who wishes that devs would stop with the Quest-only lockdown for their games. There haven't been many games that keep me playing on my Quest alone, but as I mentioned, there are a few that I wish I could share the experience with others. Heck, I just started playing the game called Peaky Blinders for work, and it depresses me that I can't, once again, stream it in decent quality for fun. One of my friends wanted to get it after seeing some of my content, but they don't have a Quest, so they're just out of luck. But I also think that when you leave a negative review on a game for something that is openly commented about, you're actually just causing more harm. On the Oculus Store, Search and Rescue has an average of 4-star rating, with most of the negative reviews being fair regarding well-known bugs that are being patched out. So of course, between the two, people will be more likely to buy the game there versus the Steam store. And that may just tell the devs to lay off Steam as a secondary option since less people are likely to buy. And what if when Index compatibility comes out, the Index community isn't as lucrative as they thought it'd be? This isn't VR chat. Most of these devs have to make a choice on what makes them money. Actually, no, this is kind of like VR chat in that regard. Many game worlds are much more successful when they allow Quest users to enjoy the game because there's a bigger audience there. The site is down at the time I was writing this, so I may be using a previous screenshot for another video, but VR chat on average has roughly the same amount of Quest users to Steam users, and that isn't including those who use Quest to connect to Steam VR. Quest is the more popular headset because it's affordable, and so of course the VR community would want to cater to their needs first due to the popularity. But does that mean that the other headsets, PSVR, PCVR, or Pico, have to just sit back and wait? One of the reviewers mentioned that this isn't 2017 anymore. VR, while still niche, isn't as uncommon as people think to enjoy. Devs should expect to make their games open for compatibility, especially if you plan to throw it on Steam, since it'd be generally expected to be mostly VR compatible, or at the very least compatible to the more well-used ones. I was so excited to hear about Help Wanted 2, but then I've heard a rumor that it's coming out for PSVR 2 first. Don't quote me on that, that's just something I heard, and that frustrates me because why? Why not just build it with the expectation to open for the full VR audience right away? Desktop mode, I get it, because that makes sense. It's a completely different concept versus VR. I see VR how I see consoles during the 2010s. Games would be either Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation. Sure, some would cross over, but in general, you had your beds to lay in. And it's weird because VR is heading in that same direction, with games that are being released for one specific console first, and the others being slowly patched in. I remember back in the day when the first Pokemon game that was released same night all around the world, and that was so crazy to me because you used to have to just suffer and wait a few months while Japan got early dibs. Now I could just wait for Nintendo Store to hit midnight and Easter time and grab my own copy from the comfort of my own home. VR has to go through the same growing pains as the other consoles did when it tries to gather its bearings, and I fully understand the need for prioritizing one headset type over the other. But as someone whose entire life is VR, jobs, hobbies, friends, connections, it can get very frustrating to see the game that I'd love to share with my friends or community be limiting themselves. Do I think leaving reviews on a game because you couldn't read the clear stating of Index coming soon is a good idea? No. But I also think that devs need to be told that VR isn't like Xbox and PlayStation. Regardless of the headset, we all enjoy the same thing and we want to be able to enjoy the games without having to be forcefully limited. And I don't really know how else to state that besides in this video. At the very least, make a binding option so players could just hand bind their own buttons. It'd be tedious, but hey, at least you get to play the game that you bought. I have a lot of games that I want to play and showcase with all of you because I genuinely enjoy the taste that I got before. I'm currently editing a video for another Fisherman's Tale, which was a very satisfying experience that I felt lucky enough to have had Maju along for the ride. So yeah, it just kind of sucks not to be able to do that with all the games I enjoy. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there since I've been seeing a lot of flack for the new Hello Neighbor game, even though most of the complaints aren't even about bugs and glitches. And I'm not pretending to say that there aren't bugs and glitches. The negative reviews are perfectly valid because honestly, after the security breach mess, you'd think Steel Wool would be prioritizing keeping things clean. I haven't personally had any issues with Hello Neighbor, but maybe I was just lucky. We'll see in my next playthrough. Thank you all so much for joining me in this video, and I want to hear what your opinions are about VR titles sticking to one platform. Are there games you wish you could have enjoyed but aren't available to your headset of choice? Make sure to drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See y'all in the next video. A quick shout out to all of my REMs out there. Elise and Raksha, thank you so much for your continued support.